You want crazy? Because I've got crazy. This happened a long time ago, back in my mid-20s. I knew a guy, a kind of casual friend who was 21 and who had a girlfriend who was 17 still in high school. They had been together for about 2 years. We'll call him Steve. Because his name is Steve, she lived with her mom, dad, and her brother who was about 2 years older than her and entering college. I met them and hung out over at their house a few times, so I kind of knew them, and they were really nice people. So Steve used to be at her house almost every night. He, his girlfriend, and her parents would hang downstairs and watch TV for the evening, and then usually the folks would go upstairs to bed, and Steve and his GF would hang out a while longer, and usually have sex in the bathroom or on the living room floor. Normal stuff, really. Now her dad was a transportation coordinator for a large company, so he spent a lot of time on the road. When he was home from the road, he didn't go to the office too much. He usually worked from home. Sometimes Steve's GF would be tired and go to bed shortly after her mom, and her dad would be working on his computer at a little desk in the dining room, and Steve would hang out on the couch watching TV. Okay, off to the races. Steve was into computers, so he and the dad would look at new games and stuff on whatever latest and greatest machine work had given him. One night, Steve's down on the floor plugging something into the power strip, and when he comes up on his knees, he can tell that his GF's dad has a massive heart-on. The dad pulls his sweats down and asks if he likes that. Most of us bail at this point, right? Nope. Steve's down on the floor plugging something into the power strip, and when he comes up on his knees, he can tell that his GF's dad has a massive heart-on. The dad pulls his sweats down and asks if he likes that. Most of us bail at this point, right? Nope. Steve starts sucking his dick, finishes the job, and goes home. So this becomes kind of a regular thing every month or so. He stays past GF and the mom going to bed, and he sucks off the dad. But wait, it gets better. He and the GF eventually move in together. One night he's dropping something off to his GF's mom, and the dad's on the road. The mom is in just a house coat, starts putting the moves on him, and he takes her to the downstairs bathroom, bending her over the counter and railing her. They start working this in when they can, when the husband in on the road, and he can find a way to come over without the GF. Oh, we're not done, kids. Steve and his GF start hitting some rough patches. So he's over at the house talking to her brother, who I really liked. He was a cool guy and fun to hang out with. I never really liked his sister too much and was talking to him about what was going on with the problems in the relationship. And yep, they fucked. Now at this point, you'd just be going, those are, well, why you like his TU. We're not done, kids. Steve and his GF start hitting some rough patches. So he's over at the house talking to her brother, who I really liked. He was a cool guy and fun to hang out with. I never really liked his sister too much and was talking to him about what was going on with the problems in the relationship. And yep, they fucked. Now at this point, you just be going, okay, this is clearly the most fucked up family on the planet because you just know they're all fucking each other. That house has got to be the Grand Central Station of incest. Nope. When it all finally blew up, and it did, in a big way, it turned out that the only one that knew about any of the other ones was Steve, the guy who had been having sex with every member of the family. I started touring pretty heavily right around when it blew up, so I never talked to any of them again. When you live to be in your 50s, and you spend a huge amount of those years in a rock band touring the world, you see some pretty crazy stuff. We're on tour in the South. So there's this woman and her friend who have been following the band show to show over several states. This isn't all that unusual. Plenty of fans do it. But she also has a 15-year-old daughter with her. Now these folks are dyed-in-the-wool, born and bred, 100% double-wide living, trailer park trash. Okay, nothing wrong with that either. Most of the time, the hotel we're at is right across the street from the venue. So we're at the hotel waiting for production to be ready for us to sound check. I'm kind of hanging out in the drum tech's room, and one of my guitar players is in a room across the hall. Everyone's doors are open. This woman and her daughter are in the room talking to him, and I just think, okay, whatever. At least I don't have to talk to them. So I go downstairs to the indoor pool where the soda machines are, and there's this hot girl getting one. She sees me. The clothes, the hair. Doesn't take her long to put two and two together. Conversation strikes up, and in about 3 sentences, I get him in the right condition, and bad stuff could happen. So I go down the hall and tell my production manager what's happening to Gideon. So is Cario, our girl, is in my guitar player's room with him alone. Now, he's not the kind of guy to mess with anyone under the age of 18. He's got 2 daughters, and whereas morals can be somewhat questionable at times, this is not his speed. However, he also has a one heck of a substance abuse problem. And create the right circumstances and get him in the right condition, and bad stuff could happen. So I go down the hall and tell my production manager what's happening. He and I both know at this moment what is happening. It's a setup. So my PM says, screw this, and goes down to the room, walks in, grabs the girl by the arm, says, okay, we're done here. This isn't going to happen. Out. Go find your mom. I leave the room because I can tell by the way my PM looks at me that he's about to have a little chat with my guitar player and that I might not want to be there. My PM is one of my best friends in the world, but I'm still scared of him. So I leave. I find the girl and her mother out in back of the venue by the buses, standing with some of the crew. I walk up to them and they're chatting away like everything in the world is sparkly and blue, and that she didn't try to just pimp her 15-year-old daughter out so that she could get put on guest lists and passes for the next however long. At this point, I'm thinking it might just be best if I disappear the mother down one of these people and fast passes for the next however long. At this point, I'm thinking it might just be best if I disappear the mother down one of the many mine shafts the state has to offer. Her daughter is smoking a cigarette and I reach out and take it off her mouth. And without missing a beat, look at her mom and say, you're a horrible mother. Didn't really see them too much after that. A few years ago, I was promoted to a management position within the software company I work for. I was told I was handpicked for the job, and though it was a big promotion, I would not receive a pay increase until I had the team performing at minimum required performance standards. 2 years in, I had the team running the best numbers it had ever seen, far exceeding the minimum standards. Every quarter, I asked to be reviewed for a raise, and every quarter, a reason was found to skip the review. Finally, I brought HR into the mix because, F you, I'm nailing this and busting my ass over here. Miraculously, a date was set for the end of the month. Funny how that works out. Alas, a week before my review date, where I would surely be granted my rate increase, a direct to supervisor, a training, the points, the trying to C2 for a raise in every quarter, a reason was found to skip the review. Finally, I brought HR into the mix because F you, I'm nailing this and busting my ass over here. Miraculously, a date was set for the end of the month. Funny how that works out. Alas, a week before my review date, where I would surely be granted my rate increase, a direct supervisor, a micromanaging weasel of a man, and the CEO of the company rewrote the minimum requirements to just barely exceed my team's current projected stats. When I came to him, fists clenched, he explained this move as an unrelated adjustment to compensate for improved average performance. Totally legit. Of course, with this change in place a week later, he took the opportunity with the HR director in attendance to express his deep and profound disappointment with my performance and to warn me that he expected me to go the extra mile next quarter or face disciplinary action since my team had failed to make the new grade. I was angry. So angry. I wanted to complain, but hey, it's the CEO. Who am I going to complain to? He too and sneered at me anytime he could. That's why I worked even harder, neglected my family and personal health, and worked to drive my team to their limits. We effing made it too. I was going to show that Dick Stain he couldn't win unless he cheated. When it became apparent that he was going to be forced to eat the pile of crap he shoveled to me in the previous meeting with HR in attendance, he called me into a meeting to design a training handout for the team. We bounced ideas back and forth, but something was weird. Every time I tried to assign a task to someone or set a due date on the handout, the CEO dodged it. By the meeting, we had accomplished nothing solid, and he tabled the assignment for a later date. Because it was tabled and I assumed we would reschedule a follow-up, I filed my notes away and moved on with other work. A month after that planning meeting, I was pulled into HR and written up for failing to issue the training handout we had tabled. The CEO was in attendance and brought his personally typed meeting notes clearly outlining that I was assigned the task that day. I had no recourse. He was lying. I said as much and was treated like a combative child. He acted insulted and incredulous. By the end, I was sent home for the day with a demotion off of the team I had built and worked so hard for. I still don't know why the CEO had it out for me. He hired in his most ass-lickinest assistant manager to replace me and told everyone he could how bad I did in that position. I'll never be chosen for something like that again because this guy decided he didn't like me. That's it. No revenge, no justice. The bad guy wins. Maybe one day he'll die in a fiery car crash. My first year of college, kinda lonely as all heck because now I'm 18 and still never had a boyfriend. I was a photography major taking random photos with my chunky DSLR camera when I noticed a group of hot guys tossing around a football across from me. One hot one came over and introduced himself to me, and I quickly knew where this was going. Then he said, "My friend over there thinks you're cute. The one in the white shirt." I saw a guy in a white shirt, and he was almost a midget. He had to be like 4'11" with short arms and legs. According to the internet, a midget is legally an inch shorter. Anyway, I didn't want to laugh and turn him down, so we became friends. I even snapped a photo of him so we can go there. I hesitated a lot, but hey, why not? This house was half an hour away and in the middle of nowhere, completely secluded in the woods. With it being dark and rainy, I felt this was a sign. We got there and he lied. Nobody was home. Red flag, Pablo 1. I put my backpack down and I noticed pictures of him wrangling baby cows and stuff. I asked him what he ate. Salfo. He popped a chicken nugget boner, then tried to pull a move on me to force sex upon me. He was trying to wrangle me. After some struggle, I jumped off the couch and pulled out my handy-dandy box cutter for situations like this. You know, a midget cowboy trying to rape you. I told him to drive me back to school or else I'll stab him. He dropped me off, yelled the C word, and drove off. Apparently, his friend said that he uses his shortness to pick up chicks, and usually they pity him. I still have that on my camera. When my friends don't believe the fact that he was a midget, I show them. I still keep that box cutter with me wherever I go. This was 4 years ago when I was a freshman in high school. I had a best friend. I'll call her Deli. Deli was able to make it into show choir, dream of hers, by randomly showing up at the choir director's door and singing impromptu. Fast forward to competition season, she's got very few friends because she's a crazy little AD, hyperactive person who took nothing seriously and had no desire to make anyone's life better. She basically did whatever she thought was funny with no regards to consequences for herself or others. So she's walking around with my other friend. I introduced them. I'll call her Jem. Jem and Deli get to go on a break and they decide to go to some really ghetto strip mall near the high school. So they walk past this rundown little pet shop and Deli sees this albino rat. She thought it was cute and that its cage wasn't a good enough home, so she bought it for only first team taints basical. She thought it was going to be eaten by a larger pet. Then she remembers she's at a show choir competition about 3 hours away from her house and she spent her actual last dollar on the rat. Nobody is going to buy her stupid rat a cage since it only cost her $1. Like I said, she didn't have many friends besides Jem and a few others, so now where is this rat going to go for the rest of the day and during the bus ride home? Well, some guy bought Deli and the rat a Caesar salad in a to-go box. So for the afternoon, the rat lived in the box of salad, probably doing just fine munching on salad. Unfortunately, the dressing was pre-mixed into the lettuce and other ingredients, so the whole setup was pretty slimy. A few glitches happened during the ride home, but not crucial to the story. Mostly, everyone just hated Deli even more because she once again did something stupid and crazy without regard to future health of the rat. By the way, she named him Caesar Salad, so she gets home and hides the rat from her mom, because her mom is a crazy psycho. Other stories abound, and also because she can't have a pet rat. Her mom would freak if she found out about the salad box. So Deli asked me to take him in as my pet. I've never been allowed to have a pet, and my parents didn't change their mind for Caesar Salad either. So the weekend has passed, and on Monday I get the bright idea to give the rat to my science teacher because she didn't have a class pet yet, and she liked me pretty well. Didn't know my best friend though. Everything goes well, and Deli brings the rat to school to give to me so I can give it to my teacher. The same friend who bought the salad also happened to have a spare rat cage lying around and gave it to me so my teacher couldn't say no. I always left my locker unlocked and told her to put the little guy in my locker. B-Twy. He's still in the box, and Deli hasn't cleaned it or changed any of the lettuce out or even let the rat out for a little. So she tells me she's made the drop-off. After school, I go to my locker, open it up, and the box isn't in there. She's sure she put it in there. We assume it got stolen or whoever found it in their locker let it outside or something. So for the rest of the week, we laugh about how silly it is. Then on Friday, my best friend tries checking the other lockers in case someone still had it in there and happened to leave it unlocked. So Friday after school, we find it after trying to open like 50 lockers near mine. Deli is very dumb at this age, so despite my clear instructions including my locker number, she got the wrong locker. We're ecstatic because we found him. The rat looms terrible. He's yellow and wet and matted, surely scared and covered in poop and pee and nearly suffocating. The box is so slimy. It's horrifying. Just our luck, my teacher is gone that day. So we took him in her room and left him in the cage I made for him over the weekend. No food, no water. Keep in mind that the rat has been treated like trash for over a week now, and it's basically all my friend's fault. At one point, she wanted to be a vet. After that, he got great care from my teacher and he was an awesome rat. Oh, and my teacher refused to call him Caesar Salad because she obviously didn't support his cruel treatment. But she did call him Caesar.